Welcome to the Cyclical Doula podcast. I'm Emma, a certified Sympto-Pro instructor, a fertility awareness educator, and your guide to fertility coaching and reproductive health education from menarche to menopause and all the different types of motherhood in between. If you're seeking a natural, science-backed approach to managing your fertility, understanding your cycle, or simply connecting with your body in a new way, you're in the right place. Each episode is designed to empower you with the tools, knowledge, and confidence you need to thrive in your unique journey. Quick disclaimer, this podcast is for educational purposes only and is not medical advice or individualized charting support. For specific guidance, please consult with your healthcare provider or fertility awareness instructor. Now, let's dive into today's topic.
Welcome to the space where cycles breathe, where the real raw life of a mama leads. From motherhood's highs to charting the low, your body's story is the star of the show. Matriarch heart.
We're going to do something a little bit different this week and just talk a little bit more about myself and what I'm doing lately, things that have been going on, and then we'll dive deep into a little bit of a topic and we'll go from there. So let's see. It's the beginning of September, and over the summer and in the month of August, we had kind of had like this really chill plan for our family. There wasn't a lot of things on the calendar, and then we were able to dive deep into a bunch of family events. Like, we were able to go to baptisms and retirement parties, birthday parties, and all sorts of different things. And it was just so much fun. My grandparents have a pool and the kids learned how to swim, which was just so fun. So I feel like what was going to be such like a chill summer turned into this amazing time with family, extended family, that we did a lot of traveling, which if you don't know, my husband is in the airline industry. And so we have these travel perks that we're able to go and fly for free or for very cheap, but we fly standby, and it is so hard to fly standby in the summer, so we really tried not to, which was also one of the reasons that our summer was going to be a little bit more chill. But we traveled a lot and it was a lot of fun, and we have more plans for travel in the fall, so we're looking forward to all of that. But now we're kind of getting back into this new mode of a new rhythm and what that looks like. So we're homeschooling our kindergartner. He started homeschool this year. They've been with me and with my husband their whole childhood. I have an in-home daycare that I run during the week. And so they've been around and we've done different preschool activities, nothing super strict, but being in this homeschool mode is kind of cool and fun. My husband was a elementary school teacher, and so he has a lot of this knowledge base. I studied education in college, so we feel like we've got elementary school covered. So that's been kind of cool. We've been diving into different curriculums and what that would look like. And I don't think I have any yet that I'm like absolutely gung-ho about, but when I do, I'll be sure to share those as well. So we kind of have this new system of what that looks looking like, and we're trying to find a good rhythm about getting into that and recording things. So if you homeschool and you have things that you love or rhythms that you love while also doing a bunch of other things and having a bunch of different commitments throughout the week, let me know what your favorite things are, because I would love to know. Let's talk about some things that I've been loving lately. I have been loving my Nuuly subscription. So I have been really enjoying borrowing these clothes every month and being able to like try out outfits that I would never buy myself. I don't love going shopping in the sense of like trying on a bunch of different clothes. And so it's been really fun just to be able to like pick some stuff out. The reviews on Nuuly are really good, and I have read some before and it's been like super like get the size up, and they don't have the size up in stock, so I get the size that like I would otherwise be in, and it's not fit. So the reviews on Nuuly are really good, but I absolutely love it. So that's been really fun. Let's see, what else have I really been enjoying? I have been in a bit of a TV slump. Um, I am a good sucker for a long TV series. Schitt's Creek is definitely high on my list of like comfort TV shows. A lot of the shows that I've watched and like are currently recording and like all of those things, they've been on a break for a while. So looking forward to when those come out. My husband and I went to New York City at the beginning of August, and we were able to just like walk around and do all this random things. We were able to see a show. We saw Six. And it was just great. It was great to just like spend time together and also just enjoy New York City. I haven't been there for a hot second. I grew up in New England, so I've gone to New York City a good portion of my life, but it was nice to like hang out and explore together. Speaking of partners, let's dive into today's topic. We're going to talk about getting your partner on board with fertility awareness. So, when you first bring up charting, or if you've ever brought up charting to a partner, what was their reaction to it, right? Like, what were you getting from them? For some partners, it's going to be like, all on board, like absolutely, let's dive deep into understanding what your body is doing. Some people are just going to be like, I have no idea what you're talking about, just kind of gloss over it. And then some partners might be really against learning a fertility awareness based method because they don't think it's effective. So when I first started charting, Alex and I were married. We were pregnant with our second kid, and we did a course that was like self-guided, which was cool, but I felt like we were like, now that I teach it, I felt like we were missing some part of that information that we could have otherwise gotten from talking directly with an instructor. But let me tell you, I was in like pregnancy brain to some degree, and Alex is like so on top of understanding everything, and he was like so good at doing all the charts and all the things. He learned the method at the time, and now we're kind of in this balance of like, he knows what's going on with my cycle, but also like I do all the charting and just we kind of let each other know. But that also has to do with schedules and stuff as well. So it totally depends upon the couple about what this balance looks like for you specifically. But overall, fertility awareness-based methods work best when it's a team effort, right? So fertility awareness isn't just about you. It's about you and your partner, your relationship, your goals, your intimacy, your family planning decisions, even how you support each other when your body's shifting from phase to phase. And yet so often the responsibility of tracking, of learning, of remembering the details falls on the woman's shoulders. I want you to know that this is not about guilting your partner or making them memorize cervical mucus patterns, but it's about building a shared language around your fertility so that you both feel confident and empowered in your choices. So we're going to talk and break this all down, talk about why partners sometimes resist or check out when you first bring up charting, how to explain it without handing them a whole science textbook, and how to make it feel like a team effort, and what to do when patience and reassurance are the name of the game. So by the end of our time together today, I hope that you feel like you have a toolkit for real conversations with your partner, conversations that are clear, collaborative, and maybe a little bit fun. Because yes, I'm all about body literacy, but I'm also all about making this practical and doable in your real life. You know, one of the biggest things that I hear from women when they first start learning a fertility awareness method is that they're excited about this, but their partner just doesn't seem to get it yet. And I get it. I really do. Because when you first start charting, it can feel like this whole new world opens up. You're learning about cervical fluids, about temperature shifts, hormonal changes, and it's fascinating. And then you try to bring your partner in, and sometimes it feels like hitting a brick wall. Maybe you've had that moment when you're showing them your chart and they kind of smile and politely say, like, that's nice, babe, but you can tell that they're not really interested. And you're sitting there thinking, like, wait, this is literally about when we can get pregnant or when we can't get pregnant. How is this not interesting? How is this not important to you? Or maybe you've tried to explain it and halfway through you realize you've gone full science lecture and their eyes are glazing over, and it's not because they don't care about you, it's because it's a lot to take in at once. I mean, imagine if they came home and started rattling off a 10-step breakdown of how their fantasy football draft works. You probably check out too, right? And then there's this other layer that I see sometimes. Well, that some partners think that it's your body, so it must be your thing. And this is like a personal hobby, almost like this personal hobby that you've picked up. But the truth is that fertility awareness is relational. It affects both of you. Whether you're avoiding pregnancy or trying to conceive or just wanting to understand your health, it shapes your decisions together. That last piece comes up a lot in the sense that charting is going to be too complicated. Like, wait, we have to track mucus and temperature and what else? Like, this sounds like a full-time job. And I get why it sounds that way at first. But the reality is once you're in this groove, it takes maybe like 5 minutes a day. And that's less time than brushing your teeth or making coffee. So if you ever feel like your partner doesn't take it seriously, or you think it's too much work, or they're not interested because it feels like it's only about you, you're not crazy. These are such common roadblocks. And the good news, they're not dead ends. They just start bringing up points for a conversation that we're going to have today about how to actually bring them in and help them see the value. So let's start with education and communication. And I don't mean sitting down your partner down and whipping out a PowerPoint on cervical mucus, though that might be helpful. I mean starting with clear, honest, human conversation about what this method is, why it matters to you, and what role they're going to play in it. Because what I see, this mistake that a lot of us make is that we assume our partner is just going to get it once we tell them that we're charting. We think, well, of course this is important. It's important to me. Of course it should make sense. But you've probably been soaking up this information, listening to podcasts, maybe reading books or working with an instructor. You've had some time to process it, and your partner might not have yet. So for them, it can feel like being thrown into the middle of a conversation without knowing the whole backstory. I had a client once who told me her husband thought fertility awareness was basically the same as just guessing, like eyeballing the calendar and hoping for the best. And you know what? That's really a common misconception. We have so many cultural narratives about the rhythm method or jokes about like Catholic roulette or being barefoot and pregnant that a lot of people lump fertility awareness into that category. And until we slow down and explain like, no, this is an evidence-based, science-backed, and highly effective, when used correctly, they don't see the difference. So you can start with keeping it simple. Instead of jumping into mucus categories and luteal phases, begin with what feels most important to you. Maybe it's saying, I want to feel more in tune with my health, and I don't want to rely on hormonal birth control anymore. This method gives us another option. Or it could be, I want to feel confident in our timing if we're trying to conceive, and this method helps me know when ovulation is happening. Notice the words there. Us. It's not about you tracking your body. It's about the clarity and confidence you both get out of this. One strategy I love is to share resources together. Maybe you listen to a podcast episode as a couple on a car ride, or you leave an article out and say, hey, this really helped me understand why this method works. Would you take a look at it? That way it doesn't feel like you're the only one with a source of information. They can hear it from someone else too, which sometimes makes it click even faster. And the other piece of communication is check in about what they need to know. Some partners love this nitty gritty, like show me the chart, teach me the rules, let's get into it. And others just really need the highlights. So like green light, red light, that kind of approach. Neither one's wrong, and it totally depends upon like what feels helpful for you to make you both feel confident and comfortable. When partners are left out of the loop, though, in any type of family planning, they can feel confused or even a little anxious, like they don't know the rules of the game that you're playing. So confusion usually breeds resistance. When you slow down and explain clearly, let them ask questions without judgment, you give them an entry point, and often that's really all they need to start engaging. So here's my invitation to you this week. If you haven't had that conversation yet, or you feel like your partner's still a little fuzzy on the details, pick one simple resource, a podcast, a handout, even maybe this episode, and share it. Not as homework, but as an invitation, a starting point for the two of you to get curious together. One of the biggest shifts that I see in couples who use fertility awareness successfully is that they don't treat it like it's her method. They treat it like it's our method. Because the reality is that fertility awareness only really works when it's a team effort. You can absolutely track your biomarkers alone, and technically you could interpret your chart without your partner ever looking at it. But when it comes to making real life decisions, whether like tonight's intimacy lines up with your family planning goals, that's a decision that involves both of you. I'll give you an example. I worked with a couple who started off with the wife doing everything. She was tracking her temperature, noting her cervical mucus, making all of the charting calls. And she told me she was feeling like the fertility police, always having to be the one to say yes or no, fertile or not fertile. And it was exhausting. It created this tension because she felt like she held all the responsibility on her shoulders. Instead of her carrying it alone, they started to look at the chart together a few times a week. She'd share her observations, he'd ask questions, and they'd make decisions as a team. And she then felt lighter, he felt more involved, and their intimacy actually improved because it wasn't just about her saying no or not tonight. It was about both of them understanding the why behind their decision and their reproductive intentions. And that's a huge beauty about making it a shared practice. So you get to take the pressure off of one person being the gatekeeper, and you can both share in the responsibility. Now, teamwork for every couple is going to look a little bit different. For some, it means the partner is going to take the morning temperature, like stick the thermometer in their partner's mouth, or record the data in the app. For others, it's simply going to be talking through the fertile window together and making sure that you're both on the same page. The details matter less than the mindset. This isn't something that you're carrying alone. And when you don't make it a team effort, that resentment's going to creep in. You might start feeling like, why am I the only one doing all this work for our fertility decisions? Or your partner might feel really out of the loop, like they're never really sure what the rules are or what part of your cycle you're in. And neither of those feel good. But when you bring them in, when you say, hey, this is something we're doing together, it shifts the energy from one-sided responsibility to a shared environment. So if you're listening right now and thinking, okay, but my partner is not exactly the charting type, don't worry. They don't have to be color coding your mucus categories. They don't, even small gestures asking like, where are we in the cycle right now? Or what does the chart say today can be really powerful. It communicates that I'm with you in this. This matters to me too. And I'll just say it plainly, charting together can actually strengthen your relationship because it's not about fertility. It's about communication, trust, and intimacy. And all these things spill over into other parts of your life together. All right, so here's where things can get fun. Because if you really want your partner to get on board with fertility awareness, you can't just focus on the work involved. You've got to highlight the benefits, right? And not just the benefits for you, but the benefits for both of you together. So often the conversation around fertility awareness is framed like, well, I don't want to be on the pill anymore, or I don't like how hormonal birth control makes me feel. And listen, those are completely valid reasons. In fact, those are actually a huge part about why a lot of women choose to use a fertility awareness-based method. But from your partner's perspective, if the whole conversation is about what you don't want, they might only hear that it's more of a responsibility for them or a big change for them. So if we flip the script and say, here's how this method actually is going to benefit both of us, that could be a game changer for some conversations with some partners. So, for example, one of my client's partners was initially super resistant. He thought charting was way too complicated and unnecessary, but after a few months, he started realizing how much easier it was to understand where they were in the cycle. Instead of having to guess when intimacy might mean pregnancy and when it wouldn't, he had a lot of clarity, and that clarity came with confidence. He told me later, like, this feels like a lot less stress for me, not more like I thought it was going to be. So, fertility awareness gives you this insight into overall health, not just fertility. A partner might not be excited about cervical mucus at first, or they might really be excited about cervical mucus, but they will care if it helps you identify other underlying issues like thyroid issues, progesterone deficiencies, or why your cycles feel irregular. Because your health affects your whole family. And when your partner sees that charting is giving you real data that doctors often overlook, it can click a little differently.
Okay, let's take a quick brain break, and I want to ask you something. Have you ever wished someone could just sit down with you and magically tell you when you're going to have your period next? Or maybe you want to know exactly which days you can and can't get pregnant. That is the beauty of charting your cycle with a fertility awareness-based method. Once you can understand your cycle, it stops feeling like this random guessing game and starts feeling like a pattern you can actually trust. I promise it's not as complicated as it might seem. Your body's already giving you all the clues. You just need to learn how to read them. That's exactly what I'm doing right now while finishing up my Fertility Knowledge Collective certification. I am looking for a few clients to work with me for 3 months of online cycle coaching and charting support. We'll meet virtually, review your real-life biomarkers like cervical mucus and temperature, and help you build the skills you can use for the rest of your life. And since this is part of my certification process, this round is pay what you can. If you ever thought, I just wish someone would guide me, this is your chance. All you have to do is text me or send me a message or an email, and I'll send you the details and we'll figure out if this is a good fit. Okay, so text me FKC, Fertility Knowledge Collective, at 854-241-3778. Or you can send me an email or message me on Instagram at the Cyclical Doula. All right, let's get back to the episode.
And then there's the intimacy side, right? This one might surprise you. I can't tell you how many women I've actually worked with who say that once their partner understood fertility awareness-based methods, their sex life actually improved. Why? Because there was less anxiety and more intentionality. Instead of those tense conversations of, are we safe tonight? Do we need a backup? Is this a good idea? There was trust in the method and in each other, and that trust creates freedom. I'll be honest, some partners even like this sense of shared adventure that comes with it. Like we're doing something different from what everybody else is doing, and it actually makes us more connected. It can feel empowering to know that you're working with your body instead of against it. So if your partner has been hesitant, one of the most powerful things that you can do is talk about what's in it for them. Less stress, more clarity, more trust, more intimacy, and honestly, more respect for your body and health. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about convincing them to tolerate a fertility awareness-based method. It's about inviting them into the experience and see the real benefits of it. And when they start to feel those benefits, that lowers the stress, it improves communication, and there's a stronger connection. And they usually don't need much more convincing. Now, I know some of you are thinking, okay, I've had these conversations, I've tried to bring my partner in, I've shared resources, I've explained the benefits, and still they're just not there yet. Patience matters here. Because introducing something like fertility awareness isn't just about learning a new skill, it's about shifting mindsets. For many of us, we grew up in a culture where birth control meant the pill or maybe an IUD, maybe condoms, and where cycle health wasn't really talked about at all. So when you introduce a method that flips the script, no hormones, no devices, just observing and charting your body's natural signs, it can take time for that to sink in. And I've seen this play out so many times. One couple I worked with, the woman was all in from day one. She was fascinated by her charts, texting me questions, soaking it all up, but her husband, he was skeptical. He would nod politely, but he didn't really want to engage. For the first couple months, she felt like she was dragging him along. Instead of pushing harder, she just kept going. She charted consistently, sharing what she was learning in little snippets, and invited him into the conversation without pressure. And after a few months, something shifted. He started noticing the patterns for himself. He'd say things like, "Didn't you just have a temperature rise last week?" Or, "So this means we're in the luteal phase now, right?" Slowly, he was connecting those dots. And eventually, he became one of the most invested partners I've seen in the process. The turning point wasn't her pushing harder, it was giving him space to allow him to come around in his own time while staying steady and consistent in her own practice. So, the lesson here is to be patient and to be understanding. Your partner might not light up about this method on day one, and they might need to see it working over time to see the patterns emerge, to feel the benefits in your relationship before they're really invested. If you try to force it, if you push or guilt or demand, it can sometimes backfire and it can make your partner dig their heels in even more. But if you model curiosity, consistency, and patience, that creates safety, and safety is what allows them to soften and get curious too. So if you're in a place right now where you feel like your partner's dragging their feet, my encouragement is to not give up, to keep charting, to keep sharing little wins, and to keep inviting them into this conversation. But don't make it a test of their love for you. Give them the grace to move at their own pace. Because remember, this isn't about teaching your partner how to read a chart. It's about building a way of communicating and making decisions together that will serve you for years to come. And that takes time. So once your partner is dipping their toes into this world of fertility awareness, what helps them stay engaged isn't necessarily more facts or more charts. It's reassurance, it's support. It's knowing that they're not left to figure this out alone. And support doesn't mean that your partner is suddenly charting every single observation or reading all the textbooks with you, though it could. Support can be simple, like everyday things to make sure that you feel like they're in this together. One of my favorite examples comes from a couple I worked with who decided early on that the wife would handle most of the charting, but the husband would just be the one to remind her to take her temperature in the morning. It was such a tiny thing, right? This gentle nudge of, "Hey, did you take your temp yet?" Or just sticking it in her mouth. But over time, that small action became this sweet reminder that he was invested too. It shifted the energy from her carrying the full weight to both of them owning it. Another couple split the responsibilities differently. She did all the mucus observations and he would enter it in the data into the chart at the end of the day. And that was their way of making it collaborative. I loved hearing them talk about it because it gave them an excuse to check in daily, not just about fertility, but about their connection in general. Sometimes support even looks simpler. It's just asking, "Where are we in the cycle right now?" Or offering a word of encouragement when you're in a tricky phase like postpartum or coming off of hormonal birth control. Even saying, "Hey, I trust this process and I trust you," can go a long way in making the method like a shared journey instead of a solo project. That reassurance matters because learning a new method can feel vulnerable, especially in the beginning when you're second guessing your observations or wondering if you're doing it right. If your partner is engaged, those moments of doubt don't feel so heavy. You can lean on each other. You can laugh about the thermometer falling on the floor again or the fact that mucus descriptions aren't exactly sexy dinner conversations. Without support, charting can feel really isolating, but with support, it builds connection. It becomes one more way you can practice trust and teamwork. So I want you to think for a second. What would this support look like for you? Is your partner helping with the practical tasks like entering data? Is it them simply showing curiosity by asking questions? Is it emotional assurance, reminding you they believe in this method? There's no one size fits all answer, but the key here is that neither of you should feel like you're in it alone. And if you're listening to this right now and thinking, "Emma, my partner isn't there yet," remember what we talked about a few moments ago. Patience first, then an invitation, then reassurance. This is a process. And honestly, the more that you reassure them that they don't have to know everything right away, the easier it's going to be for them to engage without fear of messing up. All right, let's bring this conversation full circle. We've covered a lot today, that struggle and misconception partners often have about fertility awareness, the importance of education and what it looks like to frame this as a team effort, how to highlight the benefits, and why patience and reassurance are such powerful tools. So let's make this super practical. Here's a few things that you can try this week. First, start the conversation with education. Not necessarily the entire textbook version, maybe just a few sentences about why this method matters to you. Think of it more as planting a seed. And if it feels right, share a simple resource like a podcast episode or a short article to open the door without feeling overwhelming to them. Second, frame it as something you can do together. Instead of I'm charting, try language like this is how we're going to make decisions as a couple. Even that tiny shift in wording can make your partner feel like they're a part of it. Third, highlight the benefits for both of you. It's not just about avoiding hormones or knowing when ovulation happens. It's about less stress, more clarity, and better communication in your relationship. And trust me, once they feel like those benefits, resistance usually melts away. Fourth, be patient. This isn't about winning your partner over in one conversation. Give them the time to process, to ask questions, and to see the method working. That slow unfolding is often where the real trust is built. And finally, offer support and reassurance. Remind each other that we're in this together. Whether this looks like practical help with charting or just words of encouragement, those small gestures of support is what keeps the method sustainable and connected. So my encouragement to you is don't see your partner getting on board as a hurdle. See it as part of the process, an invitation to deeper communication, to trust, to teamwork in your relationship. Fertility awareness-based methods is not just about body literacy. It's about relational literacy too. And if you're sitting here thinking, yes, I want this, but I don't know where to start, that's exactly what I do with clients. I help couples learn this method together in a way that feels approachable, practical, and supportive. So if you're ready for some one-on-one guidance, you can head to mmma.com to learn more about working with me, or just send me a message and I'd love to connect with you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today, and I hope you're walking away with not just ideas, but some hope. Hope that this method can truly be something that strengthens your relationship, not something that divides it. Until next time, may your cycles be clear, your charts be steady, and your communication with your partner just be a little bit deeper this week. Thanks for spending this time with me on the Cyclical Doula podcast. If today's episode helped you feel more connected to your cycle or empowered on your fertility journey, I'd love for you to share it with a friend or leave a review. It really helps this podcast reach more people like you. And if you're ready to dive deeper, join my free Red Circle community. It's where we go beyond the podcast with exclusive resources, live Q&A sessions, and support for charting, planning, and thriving in your cyclical life. Visit the show notes to join the Red Circle today. I can't wait to see you there. Until next time, keep listening to your body. It's telling you so much more than you realize.